Welcome back, ladies and gents. So, drum roll please. And the answer is camera A is the EOS R and camera B is the iPhone. Now, I know this is going to shock a lot of people. Out of the 3 people that commented, only 1 person got it right, which I just feel like that was a fluke. Now, of course, the EOS R is a better camera, but the iPhone uses some sneaky tricks to make it look better, and I'll explain how later on in the video. But I'm guessing a lot of people saw this and was like, hey, you know, camera B looks way more saturated, the colors look very vivid, so automatically they would have been drawn to that image. Now, in this test, I just want to point out that I didn't color grade any of these cameras. Like, the EOS R just corrected because it was log footage, and the iPhone was just straight out of camera. Yeah, like I didn't grade it at all. Of course, if I did grade the EOS R, then yeah, it would look way better than the iPhone. And the reason I did this was because if you're choosing between a dedicated camera and an iPhone, then you're probably making YouTube videos, or you're probably looking to get into professional video, but you just want a good starting point. So for those people, I don't really think you're going to be editing like crazy. So I'm trying to keep it as basic as possible, just to see how great of a result you can get from doing very minimal effort. Now, even when I was comparing footage from both cameras, I've got to say that I was really surprised at how good the footage from camera B, the iPhone, looked. It's very well saturated, you know, it's very sharp. It's kind of digitally sharp, which doesn't look great all the time. But I think if you're just looking at an image, like as soon as it comes out of the camera, the iPhone looks sick. But there was one shot where I could clearly tell the difference between both cameras, and that was with them jogging across. I think this goes for any type of shot really that involves a lot of movement. And this is because on the iPhone, you can't really set the shutter speed unless you download a dedicated app. What this means is if the shutter speed is automatic, it's probably going to be really high just to get exposure, which means you're going to get really jerky footage. And the only way you're going to get normal motion blur like this and a more natural feel is by using a DSLR or any camera that you can really set your shutter speed on. And this is why when you compare both shots, camera A just looks more pleasant because it's more natural. You've got that motion blur, whereas camera B just looks like a cheap action cam with that jerky footage. It just doesn't look very natural and nice to look at. Now, I mentioned these tricks that the iPhone uses to make itself look better. So what are they? And I think the iPhone does a really good job at faking dynamic range or just shooting really good HDR video. And what this can mean is if you're shooting in a tricky environment, like some parts are really dark and some parts are really bright, the iPhone will do a really good job at balancing all that out and just having a really good exposed image. But you can't really do that on the EOS R. Like, yes, it does have HDR, but there are limitations. So the best way to get around this is just to expose for the sky and then either bringing up the shadows in post or just lighting it, because that's what you do in an actual set. And another thing that the iPhone does do is add a whole bunch of saturation, make it a little bit warmer, so it actually ends up looking not really accurate to what you're looking at, just a whole lot clearer and brighter. Whereas on the EOS R, it was actually shooting more natural. Like, what I was seeing was what I was getting from the EOS R. So if you think the camera B or the iPhone looked way better, then why should you even consider or even bother using your DSLR or your mirrorless camera if you can just use your iPhone to get great results? Well, there's a few reasons for this. The first reason is, of course, interchangeable lenses. Now, if you get the right one, then you can get a really shallow depth of field and you can get that blurry background, which is something that a lot of people seek after because it looks professional, even though it's a stylistic choice. But, you know, that's something that you can't really get with the iPhone. So, you know, that's always a good reason to get a DSLR. Now, with both of these cameras, I do recommend using an external mic because the internal ones are really bad. Like, I wouldn't recommend using them at all. Now, with something like an EOS R, it has a hot shoe at the top, so you can just slide in your mic and it'll sit there securely and just plug it straight in. Whereas with an iPhone, unless the mic literally clips on and stays in place, you will have to find a way of setting that up with the phone, like either buying a cage or something, so it just adds on to the bulk of your phone. If you're not planning on just holding your phone with a mic attached to it all the time, that's another thing you're gonna have to worry about. And also with the EOS R, you've got the flip out screen, so you can see yourself while you're filming yourself, which is so useful. Whereas with an iPhone, you can't really do that unless you're using the front facing camera because you're looking at your screen. But the only problem with that is the front facing camera is only 1080p and it's nowhere near as good as the ones on the back. So ideally, if you're filming yourself or anything for that matter, you should be using the cameras on the back. And apart from that, the only other thing that I would tell you guys to consider is if you are going to be using your phone, then make sure you're not shooting in low light situations, because this is one area that the camera does really, really poorly in. And for that matter, I think a lot of phones do really bad in this area. But here's the thing, when it comes to comparing the iPhone with an EOS R or with a DSLR, SLR body, and, you know, having this debate of, is the iPhone better? Is the phone actually better than a dedicated camera? I don't think it ever will be because, well, they're designed for different people. You know, I think there's always going to be a need for that type of camera over the iPhone. But when it comes to shooting short form content for your social media channels, for your business, or for your YouTube channel, if you're small and, you know, you just want to get started with it, then the iPhone is a great thing to use. No longer do you have to buy a DSLR to get into at least a good quality of video. And if the lighting conditions are right and it's quiet, then boy, the the iPhone can really excel. And that's the thing, the footage that I showed you from the iPhone wasn't even edited. So imagine if you color grade it, you download an app that you can actually change the shutter speed on, like you can get the most out of that camera and it's gonna look sick. And like you saw in the previous video, not a lot of people will be able to tell, so you don't need to worry about quality. The iPhone definitely has it. The more important thing, of course, is story, and what everyone means by this is how you're delivering your message, what you're trying to say. Are you entertaining or are you educating someone? Like, how creatively can you share your message? And slowly everyone is going to get invested in you and your story rather than what camera you use to shoot the videos, like the iPhone or the EOS R, because those things can break and they can get replaced, but obviously you can't. So there you go, that's my little comparison and a bit of a deep dive into the differences between the cameras and, you know, the answer to the previous one. And if you found any of this useful, then please smash the like button, it'd help me out so much. And if you have any questions about any of these cameras or want to know more, obviously drop them down below. I'd be happy to help you out. And of course, feel free to stick around, hit the subscribe button, because I'm going to be making more videos on this topic, on cameras, filmmaking stuff in general. So stay tuned in for all that good stuff. Hopefully I can help you out there, make some amazing films. And I hope you guys are all doing well and are all crushing your goals before the end of 2020. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. That's all from me. Tilak out.